Well, let's bring in Alfred Maurice de Zayas. He's a former UN Special Rapporteur and was the first rapporteur to visit Venezuela in 21 years. He joins us via Skype from Geneva. How concerned are you by the events that unfolded yesterday on Venezuela's borders? I mean, we saw violence and the deaths of protesters shot by security forces. Is the crisis spiralling out of control, do you think?
Well, the United States has been provoking and will continue to provoke. Threats, as you know, are contrary to the United Nations Charter and contrary to the Charter of the Organization of American States. Tomorrow, here in Geneva, the 40th session of the Human Rights Council will be beginning. I have addressed an open letter to our new High Commissioner for Human Rights, Michelle Bachelet, and to the Secretary General of the United Nations, Antonio Guterres, asking for their good offices and for mediation. As far as international law is concerned, it is clear that Venezuela, as a sovereign country, has a right to protect its frontiers. As far as the humanitarian aid is concerned, when I was in Venezuela, I spoke with all ministers, including the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Minister of Agriculture, etc. They all welcomed and actually requested United Nations assistance and assistance from all neutral countries in good faith, without strings attached. But we have here a situation of the weaponization of human rights and the weaponization of humanitarian aid.
Let me just jump in quickly, Mr. de Zayas, because we're very limited for time. Let's stay with the international response, because President Maduro is now under growing pressure from outside the country, with regional leaders from countries like Brazil, Chile, Paraguay, Colombia, all supporting the opposition. Is he becoming much more isolated diplomatically, do you think?
Grupo de Lima has no legitimacy, to tell you the truth. As little legitimacy as Guaido himself. What is important is that Maduro does accept humanitarian aid, that 933 tons of humanitarian aid, medical supplies and medicines came in last week, and that came from China, from India, from Turkey, and also a couple of days ago, 300 tons of medical supplies came in from Russia. Now, all of these are being distributed with the help of the United Nations. Even the European Union has recently agreed to make humanitarian aid available, which will be distributed through the United Nations.
Okay, well, let's just stay with the question of the aid for a second, because Maduro has refused to let a large amount of aid into Venezuela, saying it will facilitate a U.S. invasion of the country. But the fact remains that under Maduro, people are starving, the economy has collapsed, nearly 3 million people have fled the country.
Yeah, but why has the economy collapsed? Has collapsed because an economic war against Venezuela, because the financial blockade that has made it nearly impossible for Venezuela to buy foods and medicines outside, because of sanctions which are illegal, according to the United Nations rapporteur on unilateral coercive measures, and according to an old, from the year 2000 report of the United Nations Subcommission on Human Rights. So here you have a Trojan horse situation. The U.S. aid program was used already against Nicaragua in the 1980s to bring in contraband, to bring in weapons. And you cannot be the tormentor and then mutate into a good Samaritan.
Okay, let me get a final point to you, Mr. Zayas, because we've actually run out of time. A final quick point. You did a fact-finding mission to Venezuela in late 2017. Things were pretty bad then, so is there any sign now that under Maduro things are going to get any better? And is this crisis likely to be resolved anytime soon? A very brief answer from you, if you could.
It can get very, very soon, very much better, the moment that the sanctions are lifted, the moment that the country is allowed to buy and to sell like any other country, the moment that the financial blockade is lifted. It is the United States that is causing the crisis. That's why Maduro accepts help from the European Union, accepts help from China, from Russia, etc., but will not accept it from the country that is causing the crisis.
Okay.
The whole thing is surrealistic.
Alfred Zayas, thank you very much indeed for your time.